Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Aligned, Engaged, Fulfilled podcast. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to those of you who are listening to us today, wherever you are, whether you're driving, working, cooking, or just taking some time to yourself to be somewhere quiet. I'm so excited to bring to you another insightful episode of Aligned, Engaged, Fulfilled. And if you're new to the show, welcome. On this show, we challenge the status quo of workplace culture, and we dive into the work that it takes to build transformative careers and human-centric workplaces where people and purpose drive profits, not the other way around. If you don't know yet who I am, I'm your host, Clarence Maur, and today we're exploring the new frontier of brand building with Tom Circo, the co-founder of Matchbook. Tom's path wasn't traditional. His entrepreneurial journey started at the age of 8. Yep, you heard me, the age of 8, selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards and candy, and led him through building clothing brands and wholesale ventures, all while working in nightlife. He then pivoted hard into the world of film, cutting his teeth selling commercials during the pandemic before building a multi-million-dollar agency. But his core lesson that he learned along the way is that execution and resilience beat theory every time. Our conversation today will focus on that exact theme and how the people component, rooted in genuine relationships and relentless execution, is a true anchor for building a brand in today's relationship-first economy. Welcome, Tom. I'm so happy to have you.
Hey, Clarence, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing good, man. I don't know how to beat that intro, I feel like I should give you one back, even though it's your podcast. And I'm like, wow, I did so much. But I was so nervous to do this. For the listeners, this is my first podcast. And Clarence invited me on. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so used to being like behind the scenes. Been like through nightlife and everything, film, I was never in front of the camera. I've never been the influencer in all the campaigns that we've done. I've always been the kind of puppeteer. And so Thank you for having me, you wonderful man, you. And I'm excited to see what we get into.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it was very similar to me. I mean, my background is in marketing as a CMO. I'm so used to being behind the camera, behind the campaign, and moving into this world where I'm the person in front of the camera has been a strange lesson to learn, but it's been very exciting. And so I share that with you. And I'm excited. I mean, we met just maybe a month ago, and we've really only connected, 2 or 3 times. And I knew right off the bat that we were going to have a lifelong friendship, and I'm excited to continue to build on that.
I agree. I know that you have questions, and I know we're going to jump into some fun stuff, but I think that we should give the people, the listeners, a background on how we got to be where we are.
Yeah.
I can do it if you want. You can do it, but...
Well, let's give it from your perspective, and then we'll go from there.
So in this world of marketing and business and everything, I really do try, I guess my clients and history has proven this by me just being kind of all over the place, as you guys will all see by my insane sporadic pivots and shifts conversationally. But I was trying to connect with like-minded marketers in a real true form, and not just in like a, let me send you a LinkedIn DM and be like, let's be friends, which is obviously, always comes from an honest place, I would say. Yeah. But because of all the AI slop and all that stuff now, it can seem quite dishonest. And so I was thinking outside of the box, like, how do I connect with cool marketers where we can build relationships and essentially win business together, maybe referral, whatever, but predicated upon like, how do I connect with people? And I use Upwork all the time to like hire talent on, but I never posted anything really. I would just, find like a graphic designer for this thing and whatever I need. I made this very human post.
Very human.
Hey, fellow marketers, this is not an ad, but instead essentially like an invite to connect, which FYI, shout out to Upwork, but they completely took down within 2 days.
It was so human that they took it down.
they just weren't feeling it. They were like, you can't network here, dude. You have to pay people. And it got taken down right away. And a few people have replied to it. And I was really sad about it because I was like, man, like I put this up as a be my friend post. And the next morning or even later that day, I don't remember what it was, I get this email. And it's this Clarence person being like, hey, I saw your post and I love this. Like, this is so human. It's so different. Let's connect. And I was like, how the hell does this person get my email? But then knowing business, I was like, oh, we probably use Apollo, which is exactly how.
It's exactly what I use. Yep.
And
Shout out
we
to Apollo.
shout out to Apollo. And we got on a call and that was a wrap. I mean, I think certain people are meant to connect. And I really felt the alignment truly, like energetically. I think what you do is awesome. I think you should be given your flowers more. So if other guests haven't, you're freaking
Thank you.
awesome. FYI,
Thank you.
listeners, he told me not to swear, which is going to be such a challenge for me this whole time. But I said freaking.
That's acceptable.
And yeah, that's how we came to be. I mean, if you have other perspectives on it as well, but that's the long and short of it.
It's exactly what happened. Like I was on Upwork. I was looking for fractional work because I do fractional consulting on the side as well. And I saw that post and somebody was looking, I think the words you used was a partner, like a strategic partner. And to me, those were kind of the words that hit home, because going through postings and postings about people looking for marketers, it's all the same jargon. It's all the same crap. And yours was so human in the sense that you were like, I just want to connect with somebody who wants to be a partner in building something impactful. And so immediately I was like, oh, I need to reach out to this person. But I actually saved it for the next day because I think I saw it late at night and I was like, okay, I'm gonna reach out tomorrow. And by that time that I was ready to reach out, it had already been taken down. And so I was like, no, like I didn't even get his contact information or anything. And then I went back through my saved stuff and thankfully it was still there. And I found your name and then I went into Apollo and like looked for your email before the posting fully disappeared off of Upwork. And I sent you an email and I want to say like 10, 15 minutes after hitting send, my cell phone rang. And I was like, who is this person calling me? And I answered. For some reason, I answered because I always screen my calls. I hardly ever pick up calls from numbers I don't know. But for some reason, I was like, maybe I should answer this call. And I did. And it was Tom on the other line. And we just started talking. And I think it was the first time that I talked to a complete stranger for maybe 30, 45 minutes. And we just hit it off. And I think that we instantly connected. And here we are, like, 5 conversations in. And I feel like I've known you forever. And I'm excited for what we're going to do together.
It's very telling on the type of person who can have that conversation. I think and this, we can use this to pivot into questioning or whatever you want, but I think it's very in line with, I think, a belief system that we both subscribe to. And, in this day and age where we're all so connected more than ever before, yet so disconnected more than ever before.
Yes.
And the I don't call it juxtaposition of it, but you call it the irony, the paradox of it all is perplexing. I mean, it really truly is. And I am old school. I was raised very old school, and I come from the generation right on the cusp of, I guess, the last ones where, you would run over to your friend's house and knock on the door and, Miss so-and-so is so-and-so home. And you would memorize people's phone numbers and, call people up and be like, hey, how are you doing? And you live in this world where really the only thing that's changed is that we live in this screen, this virtual world. Just because of this thing right here, we've all become vastly connected to farther places, yet so disconnected in our personal lives. And it's nice to have somebody pick up a call and say, hey, who's this? And then you go, it's the guy. And now we're friends, Clarence, and you're stuck with me.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad. And I think that kind of speaks to a very, very important thing that I learned recently, which is that those connections, no matter how random and out of the blue, can lead to so much more. And I think that tugs at, or it alludes to, the heart of the conversation we're going to have today, which is going to be about connection. Because I mean, look at us now. We got one phone call from a stranger and here we are on a podcast talking. And I fully believe that the way we move the world is through conversation. And so that one phone call triggering this podcast conversation, I think, speaks to that so strongly. And so since you perfectly alluded to the heart of our conversation, I'm going to jump right into it. And I want to start with a statement that you posted that I think perfectly captures the new reality for businesses and really for people as well. But you wrote, quote, in 2025, every company should be a brand. Product is getting stupid easy, and your moat isn't product, it's brand. Brand equals trust, trust equals conversions, conversions equals business, end quote. I think that it's a brilliant and provocative distillation of really the shift that we've been seeing. For years, the focus was on having the best product, the best features, but now, as you said, the real defensible advantage, the real moat, as you called it, is trust and affinity and what you build with your community. And that leads directly to my core belief and really our shared core belief and the theme of our conversation today, which is that we are now firmly in a brand first, relationship driven economy. But before we jump too deep into our conversation, I do want to say to our viewers and our listeners, make no mistake, brand and the things that we're going to talk about in this episode are not unique to businesses. You as an individual also need to think about your brand in today's economy because the world of business has changed. It isn't changing, it has changed. There are officially more people looking for jobs than there are jobs available today. The traditional 9 to 5 is outdated and people are flocking away from it to pursue their own ventures and become their own boss. But the difference in success versus failure, in growth versus decline, and in burnout versus fulfillment is in how you define, understand, and leverage your brand. So as you listen to this episode, as you listen to my conversation with Tom, ask yourself, how do I apply this to me and my own journey? So, all right, Tom, like with that said, let's start right there. You in that post define brand as trust stacked over time. In an era where affinity and trust are the real moat, what is the most powerful way for a company to start stacking that proof and building genuine trust with an audience that's increasingly skeptical?
By doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's look, I'll refine my post a little bit, then I'll get back to your question. When I made that post, I think something maybe I should have noted and I thought about later is, there are certain cases where product is still the moat. As you grow and scale and you get a bigger ship, you can vibe code Instagram, but you're not going to have the back end to hold up, millions and millions of people, et cetera. And then product comes into play. You have to still have a dev team to understand. Sure. Like technicality speaking here,
Yeah.
there are instances, but there's a reason why people win and why Cal AI succeeded at its level when somebody could have just vibe coded that the next day. And so to answer your question, how brands could do that is by, first of all, being real and by listening to their customer base, especially early stage. Early stage brands are my favorite because they are in this excruciating need for credibility, right? You launch this thing and just by sheer like time math, you haven't been around for that long. So your promise doesn't have, because brand is like what a promise fulfilled over and over. And that's where people relate to it because it equals trust and it equals credibility. And the affinity is important because people know that when they go to Nike, they get the shoes that they like. They know that it's there. You can talk about MJ and bring that in the conversation, whatever. But it's like there's a stamp there. There's years and years of moments that have been seeded into our subconscious with commercial and with branding and with sonically, with tones and noises that everybody knows the ba ba ba, the McDonald's jingle. Everybody, there's all these things. And not to get too all over the place because I want to answer it directly, but especially with those early stage brands, what they can be doing is just being unique, being themselves. Yes, it's cool to copy somebody and do it your way, but every company has a unique DNA. And if they are trying to position themselves as a carbon copy, then do it with finesse, do it with elegance, because eventually there's going to come a point where if I'm looking at two shoes and I want to buy one pair of shoes, there's going to be a deciding factor. And the reality is, and this is what it is to say this, most of the time we don't freaking care about the quality. I wear Nikes because I'm projecting to the outwards world. I wear this Cartier watch so that people think that they understand my level of monetary, you know what I mean? Like it's always a projection. We're speaking outwards. And so how do you capture your audience truly? By understanding them, right? By giving them something to believe in, by having a story, right? Branding is really just telling your story, your unique story. And you can build from that so heavily. I feel like I didn't answer your question there really,
No,
but
you're
I've
good. You
gone
did.
off on a few different tangents.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said about the early stage companies as well. Like now I work with companies like Jack Links and ManyChat and Perplexity and all these players, and everyone's always going to buy at Jack Links.
Hmm.
Right? What do I do with them? Brand awareness. I make everybody remember, hey, by the way, over here, build brand for them, their own channels, etc. Run campaigns, whatever. Lots of fun. Great company. It's like, but everybody's going to buy Coca-Cola, right? They're everywhere. They don't really have a choice, frankly,
Yeah.
right? Now, if I say a company like Native Shoes, you might not have heard of them. Now, me and my locale, I sure have. I wear them. They're great, but not everybody knows about them. But they've done a great job branding. But they had to do that early. They had to invest into the marketing and get their face out there, their name out there, because and they had to work, they worked with creators and they worked with brand marketers to really establish themselves as this legitimate thing, because credibility matters in 2025 more than ever. More than ever it does. And the funny thing is, that's an early stage brand, but then you look at like big companies that have just never really invested into brand. And they're now, if you see the trends, people are starting to go through a rebrand. But really, and excuse my French here, it's really just them giving a shit finally
Yeah.
about, oh, wait, we probably should care about this thing, because now, for the first time ever, because of AI or whatever, LLMs, but we call it AI and whatever, semantics, but because of AI, I can now make your thing. I can click 3 buttons and bolt, glovable, cursor, whatever, and I can vibe code Duolingo. And if I go and take that and I decide to go bullish on marketing and on brand, and I go send it out to a bunch of content creators on TikTok and I incentivize them, you have a competitor. Just like that. Now what?
To your point, whether you're an enterprise organization, like a large enterprise, or you're a startup, the same is true, which is that brand is the most critical piece of your business growth in today's world, right? And to your point, that's why a bunch of organizations are rebranding, because they're coming to that realization. So, regardless of what size your company is, you have to look at brand the same way. And this idea of brand being built on trust, especially, in 2025 and beyond, really leads to another fundamental shift. Traditionally, brands operated on a one-way street. It was all about a company broadcasting what they wanted the market to believe, right? It was, this is our message, this is what you should think about us or of us. But today in 2025, brand has changed to be really more of a two-way street than it ever has been before. And I'd argue that it's not even a 50-50 split anymore, right? Because audience and customer perception now hold the majority stake.
Yes.
It's less about the narrative that you push as a business and more about the experience that people are having with you. But it doesn't even stop there. The brands that win today, the truly sustainable brands, are the ones that look at brand in 3 dimensions: their customers' individual narratives, their brand narrative, and then really the convergence of those shared narratives. And
Yes.
some aspect of this has existed, for as long as we've known brand, but businesses haven't really leaned into what that means. They've really gotten so hyper focused on the narrative that they want to present to the market. And they've, for a long time, neglected the customer in that sense. And so this reminds me of another powerful statement that you actually made in another one of your posts. You said, and I quote, "People see you more clearly than you see yourself." I don't know if you remember writing that, but
Oh no, I
it's a
do.
it's a very powerful post, and to me, it seems that this is the defining challenge for leaders today, really closing the gap between their own self-perception and how their brand is actually experienced in the wild.
To that point, it actually goes back to what I was saying before about, size of company, etc. Early stage companies typically, as we all know, are more nimble because they have less staff, they have less money, they have less to lose. They don't have a board, or maybe if they do have a board, it's limited. They're venture back, depending, whatever it is. The brands that can pivot consistently and pivot hard will succeed. Not to say that other people can't succeed. Legacy money is legacy money. At the end of the day, we still work in an economy where you can throw a lot of dollars at something and it make a splash, but a splash, not a tsunami consistently every
Hmm.
day. It's a splash. And you see this with larger companies that try to throw a lot of dollars at a problem, but then this little small, nimble company comes out of nowhere and they're like crushing it on social. And the big companies, and I know this because I pitch big companies and I work with small companies, is the large companies are using examples of smaller, nimble brands as their freaking roadmap, as their North Star. Why is it working for so-and-so? We should do it like that. Well, how are they getting all this traction? Because they're freaking listening.
Yes.
Because Crocs became cultural in the hood
Mm.
because Kai Cenat was wearing them on the stream, and even before that. But they became a New Balance rebrand where they swapped the 80-20 marketing to like when they went 80% dollars spent marketing
Mm.
and they brought on the Jack Harlows of the world and rebranded, the pendulum was going down still for a long
Oh
time
yeah.
and then gone because the market caught on to it because brand. But like,
Because brand.
you made so many good points. And I'll say this, like even to speak to B2B companies. And this really aligns with the belief system I know that you preach quite a bit. This is the era, sorry, of human-centricness. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we still have an attention economy in a lot of ways, but everyone's fighting for it. Everyone is constantly battling who can capture this percentage of the audience and this and the engagement. I live in this world. That's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the world of social media, influencer marketing. It's the it's the worst of it, frankly. That's what it is. It's the top level, DEF CON, whatever it is, right? Like, and B2B brands I've even seen now. The wise ones are starting to wise up to,
Mm-hmm.
hey, wait, hold on. We're speaking to humans, right? And and they're starting to invest into their brand. And it shows up differently, right? And as it should, because this is business to business, right? It's not, CPG or consumer SaaS or whatever it is, but it still matters. And if B2B is catching on to, wait, maybe we should invest in brand, that is a telltale sign to any B2C company. Time to catch up to the times here, guy.
Yeah.
And so you made a really good point about my post. Thank you for shouting out my 5 likes LinkedIn post. People do see you more clear than you see yourself. And as a business, your consumer and your customer almost definitely sees you more clearly than you see yourself, especially as a
Yes.
large scale company.
Yeah.
Because you're also dealing with shifts in time. I will use Jack Links as a brand because they've done a good job of this. Maybe a little on part of our involvement, but the great team there nonetheless. This is a legacy company. This is a multi-billion-dollar, family-owned, privately held legacy company, and there are people at the organization for sure that have been there since the beginning, and they have a perspective on what should be the Jack Links brand. And then you have data that either agrees or disagrees with that. And then you have social statistics and analytics that you can, more data to go with that. And what they were smart enough to do was hire us, but also bring people on that were from the younger generation, that were, or just understanding of the space of brand and
Mm.
how they can listen to their customer and how they can convey what they are and what the customer believes them to be to that consumer. And they're a big company. They have all the reason to say, no, we are Jack Links and this is what we are. Mr. Jack Links himself stood on Mount Jack Links and ate a beef jerky and said, that's it. And this is what we are forever. And they'll still sell billions of dollars of jerky,
Yeah.
but they're open-minded and they understand human beings. And I think they've done a really good job of bringing on the right players. And as most companies at that size don't really need to keep on pivoting and growing because they understand that it's everyone's day in the sun sometimes. But at some point, you got to sit in the shade when rain comes. And this is how companies, especially large ones, will consistently differentiate and stand out. They should pivot and be open to being nimble just as much as small companies do. And they should be listening and be human centric and people first just as much as these smaller companies do. Because you see a lot more with smaller companies because they can.
Yeah.
It's 3 guys in a room going, should we change the logo today? Like that's what it is. So it's my 2 cents, my ramble.
That brings me to a core idea that I want to explore with you, which is really the central theme of our conversation, that in this relationship first economy, we need to completely reframe how we think about brand building. And you're at the forefront of this. But the old model was simple, right? Like money was the only currency. You bought ads, you bought attention. You share information, knowledge, and expertise, you bought attention. And it brought us to this place in the world of business where attention became the new currency, right? But today in 2025, the most valuable currency, in my opinion, isn't cash, it's not information, it's not attention, it's connection.
Mhm.
It's the idea that genuine, authentic relationships are the new investment that is required to really build a powerful brand. The price to pay for trust and affinity isn't found in your marketing budget, but really in the time, empathy, and value that you invest in your community, which includes your partners, your creators, your customers, your employees. And you can't just buy a great brand anymore. You have to really earn it one relationship at a time. Now, your work at Matchbook really feels like the very embodiment of this philosophy. Like, how does this idea of connections as currency resonate with you? From your perspective, what separates the brands that truly understand how to invest this currency from those who are still just trying to spend their way to relevance?
Well, it's a great question. You see the answer happening naturally if you're able to look, especially on LinkedIn, depending on who you're connected with and follow. The trend right now is, and it has been for a while, it's no longer about the biggest name creator. What we've done a really good job at when we built a lot of the programs for all of our clients is we're finding content creators that are the physical embodiment of the actual consumer, the audience. And we're just showing them a mirror image of who they are and what they like. And that's it. And especially on owned media campaigns. For instance, I mean, if Shutterstock hired Kim Kardashian as their spokesperson, it's like the Kanye West meme where he's like, what the F does Lady Gaga know about Polaroid? It's like, well, yes, you're going to get some buzz, but natural integration of the product into content, as we have positioned ourselves to be experts within, only is impactful when the content itself is something that the consumer is going to appreciate,
Mm,
really. It's not just enjoy, but appreciate. And doing that, you have to be truthful, you have to be raw, you have to be real, you have to be open-minded. So connections as currency and attention as currency, it still holds its validity
sure.
in both sense. I think connections is really a part of the larger sphere of community. Community is currency. And that goes for brands like actual companies and for human beings. I have this conversation. Look, I've done hundreds and hundreds, probably at this point, thousands of creative partnerships. And something that I say, this is a crazy statement, is that if you have anywhere over, I say 25,000 followers on any platform, you can be making $10,000 a month. You should be
Yeah.
making $10,000 a month consistently as an influencer. And content creators that I know go, how, what? But the first thing I look at is I go, well, are you truly building community? Because the reason why brands want to work with influencers is because they are their own little business.
Yeah.
They have this captured audience that if you're smart enough as a company, you can find a organic way for them and their captured audience to fit into your ecosystem and then create content together that's not shoving by the phone down the throat. It's subtle integration of the product into the natural content that they've blown up for in whatever way, shape, or form that they have. And you put it all together, and it is this beautiful, multi-layered campaign that comes out, and everybody loves it. We've seen the success from this. I've seen the success from this. Um, but community is at the forefront of that connection economy. This is kind of a hard pivot here, but I will get back to what
Yeah,
I'm
good.
saying. This is why I'm so bullish to your point about connection economy and how that's overridden attention. All of these companies should be investing into owned media. They should, because they can build their own community online, digitally, aside from what they have going into retail or not or whatever it is. And there's this lack there of understanding when it comes to that, because it's like a musical artist and their discography. When you become a fan of someone, what do you want to do? You want to listen to all their music. Oh, I love this one song from Bad Bunny. I love this one song from, some guy. But when you go into their Apple Music or Spotify, whatever it is, you go and hit shuffle or you start to go through the albums. And isn't it the best feeling when you discover a new artist and they
Mm,
have this extensive discography? You get to listen, oh my God, this is what he was making back in 2007. Oh, and he's only got, 100,000 monthly listeners. Well, I'm early, man. I'm a fan of this guy. I'm going to do this little show with 200 people. That's a beautiful thing.
mm.
these brands or companies more so that haven't really leaned the brand yet, when you go on their profile and there's not even anything to scroll on, and there's no way for you to kind of become a fan of that thing, that company, that
Yeah.
brand, a lot of these creators, they have a lot of stuff that you can become a fan of, but then where does that funnel go? The companies have done a phenomenal job of having that funnel. They have their landing place built out. Hopefully it's, conversion rate optimized. Sometimes it's not, even for the big ones, but they understand the business side of it. And then the creators don't really have that understanding of the business side of it, but they're able to have an engaged audience. They have been able to create a community better than a lot of the brands, but the ones that haven't don't understand how easy it is for them to do so because they've built brand.
Yeah.
And so that same methodology applies to companies where it's like, if you have all of this stuff for people to become a fan of you, man, the world's your oyster. Because
Yeah.
now you can create a real community around it. You can release social content that has calls to action that push your bottom line, and even top of funnel content now becomes down funnel all the way down to bottom funnel. And what you can capture and seed in the middle part is just beautiful. So I could go on all day about this, but to your point, we are in a community and connection driven economy. Attention is free. Capturing it is difficult.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I can make a TikTok tomorrow that could get 1 million views. You could pay to get that same thing. Are those 1 million people going to actually resonate and engage and convert? That takes time.
Yeah.
That takes consistently showing up as the thing that you say that you are. And that same understanding and that same school of thought is applicable to massive multi-billion organizations, all the way down to a $5 million company, all the way down to a content creator with 75,000 followers. It's the same across the board, but just one of them has figured out how to talk to people truly.
Yeah.
So that's why I live in the world that I live in. That's why I die on the mountain of influencer marketing.
You bring up a lot of good points, and I swear, like, this is proof that we're just aligned on where we're at and this whole conversation about brand marketing, because you brought up the word community, and it's like I led you to that. But that shift that shift from attention to connection really isn't just a theory. Like, we're seeing that proof, like you said, in real time on social media. For years, the game was simple, right? Like, it was likes and follower counts were the most important metrics. But today, that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, yes, to some extent, it still matters. But I mean, today, millions of people will now watch a video to the very end and not even follow the creator. And I think that speaks to what you just said about the value and the connection that happens, right? Because capturing attention isn't enough anymore. To really earn a follow or whatever, to get someone to truly invest in you, they have to feel a genuine connection. And so those metrics have changed. Today, the real indicators of a strong brand are, comments, shares, it's signs of an active, engaged community.
Yes.
And with everyone, and I mean, I feel like it's fair to say everyone vying to be a creator, attention has become an incredibly scarce commodity. The ones who are actually breaking through aren't just fighting for eyeballs, but they're building deep, connected communities. And the shift has literally created a new economy, giving rise to platforms like School, Circle, and Stan, which are all built on that very power of community, not just content. And it's undeniable proof that we're in a brand first, connection driven world. Yet so many businesses are still playing by the old rules, failing to see that currency has changed. So from your perspective, how do you coach brands to shift their focus from the old vanity metrics of likes, followers, to the new, more meaningful metrics of community and connection?
Well, I would say right away, I review content with a lot of companies that, the way that we've built our systems and procedures. I took a lot of what I learned sitting in editing rooms and post-production, offices in the film world. I kind of brought that into this world of influencer marketing. But I always go to look at how many people are commenting, how many people are sharing. Now with reposting, which I have opinions on because you can't post it to your main feed and whatever. But we review it and we just try to show, like, is there a measurable outcome? And a lot of time it can come from the content. Way to measure it is, are you driving them somewhere, right? The consumer, is there a measurable way? But I'll answer it a little bit differently because I just had a thought here. I would say that one of the best ways that I help convey that new understanding and and belief is by just showing them success stories of even individuals. Kai Cenat is what I would call a genius, a creative genius. I believe that there are certain people that have come along social media wise, like David Dobrik, like Mr. Beast, like Kai Cenat, that have this just understanding of human behavior and neuroscience that it's so natural
Mhm.
and so subconscious that it's their calling. It was what they were meant to do. It's clear.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
when you look at like a Kai Cenat, which is very different, right? There were vlogging days that, that Dobrik built his entire, following and everything on the vlogging.
Mm.
But he was a director, right? I mean, this is what it was. He was a director. He choreographed it. It was his set. The world was his set. And what a beautiful experience. You got to live your life through the lens of these LA kids all trying to make it. It was just amazing. I was a consumer to this. And then you look at Mr. Beast and what he's this magnitude of what he's built. Again, very film-esque, right? The large sets. He's really providing, and he has the science,
Mhm.
the clips and the way that he captures the content and the 3 seconds to grab the attention. He's a master of attention manipulation. And then you look at Kai Cenat, the new generation, the Twitch streamer, and you go, my God, there's 400,000 people watching this guy right now live, just live his life.
Mhm.
And again, it's like a live action set, right? It's that, he's doing the Mafia-thon 3 right now. And he's there. He's doing IRL chatting, this and that. All of a sudden, Jonas Brothers sit right next to him. Boom, thing. All of a sudden, Marlon Wayans is there. Boom, thing. It's always something new, another thing. It's like keeping a paper airplane afloat. You throw it up in the air, and as it starts to come, a little bit of air, and it keeps on going like this. And that's how you do it. So when I talk to brands and companies and, educate them in a sense, I say, like, look at consumer behavior in general. 400,000 people, 700,000 people watching somebody for 24 hours a day for a month straight.
Mhm.
That has never been done in history before.
Right.
And there's such an appetite to consume, which we could digress into the pros and cons of that, but that is the consumer behavior. And so
Yeah.
what I say to them is I go, look at these success stories of individuals. You want to engage with people? That is the most people-centric thing that you can freaking get, man. Because that is somebody literally like this, except for live. There's mess ups, there's swear words, there's things said, there's somebody leaks a phone number. This is IRL consistently 24/7. And I think you can learn a lot by just observing where the market is at, by the people who are having incredible amounts of success. Because every company, every single brand and company in the world would love to have that type of attention, community, engagement that they do, connection, true connection. And that's how you learn. That's how I educate them. As I said, look at the market. Look what's happening here. Do you want to be this? Because look, I'll keep on going on my spiel here, but we've worked with people before, not just companies, larger figures, you could say, helping them develop out what their personal brand is. And hell, here we both are trying to do that ourselves and figure out, what is our personal brand. I'm 28-year-old guy covered in tattoos in this business world with no freaking college or not even really a high school background. I'm figuring out my way every day, man. And the best way to do that is just by being honest and being human. I am who I am. I try really hard and I freaking have had some success in my life. Thank God, but I'm like level 1.5 out of 20. And everybody cares about this personal brand thing. Everybody cares about brand. Truly, if they really look at reflect, they do. Because there's certain things that they're doing that reflect that, even if they haven't
Yeah.
doubled down on it.
A lot of what you said like really leads and really speaks to kind of a core tenet of my philosophy, which is that people are the ultimate anchor to business success. And you've said it in different ways throughout this conversation, but it really does come back to that authenticity, which is, in today's world, it's not just a nice idea anymore. And I've said this in previous podcasts that authenticity is such a buzzword today. But I think that in a relationship first economy, it's a strategic imperative. How do you define what is truly authentic and, an effective partnership between a brand and a creator?
It's hard to find these days, Clarence. The answer to that would be don't be a freaking idiot. I mean, just like be genuine. Be genuine. I think that, and this is not to get on some spiritual whatever, but I believe that energy transcends no matter where it's coming from. Us having this conversation right now, we feel the energy, but you're in, miles away from me and we're on a computer screen. But there's energy there. There's something real about this. The listeners and whoever watches this, they're going to understand the passion, the desire, the true care. Give a shit. That's how you stand out. Give a
Yeah.
shit. I talk to companies, and I never used to say this, but when I talk to them now, I go, let me tell you something. I've been trying to make something of myself in this world of business for 20 years. Really, if we're really going to call it that. And the reason why people like doing business with me is because they can tell that I actually give a shit. And
Mm.
that energy shows up. I've sent thousands of LinkedIn DMs and I meant what I said. Even if I was copy pasting something, I just put somebody's name, I meant what I said in every one of those messages. The unfortunate reality is that 99.9% of the time, it's not going to get perceived like that because we've done such a great job in society at crapping on it,
Yeah.
right? It's the harsh reality is that you're only going to break through, 0.01% or whatever it is. But the upping the odds to answer the question, how to stand out, how to be like, it's authenticity is informed by being genuine. When I send people messages, I don't worry about spelling it perfectly. I don't worry about having a copy so defined. I don't like to even go to ChatGPT to help me out with certain things. I use it as a tool for sure all day long. But just being like, if you are your authentic self and you're just being real and raw and genuine, and that shows up in brands by
Yeah.
far, then people will react to that as they should. The market will tell you, the consumers will react, but once something's real and it's raw and it's authentic and you're genuine about it, even if there's negative feedback to it, so be it, man. I can sleep at night because I'm not being disingenuous. I'm being real. I'm saying, like, Clarence, I care about you, man, as a human being. I like this relationship that we built. That level of just connectivity will lead to so many abundant moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And companies and people and everyone can learn, where did we go wrong? Was it the social media? Was it social in general? I mean, like, was it the internet? What happened that we all stopped just being human and just being able to have a conversation? I saw this LinkedIn post and the guy was like, oh, I'll never take a virtual coffee. Why would I waste my time and this and that, whatever? And I go, what a small-minded way to think. I mean, look, I
Right.
get it. I'm busy too. I'm on 10 calls a day. I got stuff like this. I got a multi-million-dollar company I'm running. I got employees. Okay. Yeah. Guess what? When somebody sends me a message, I don't operate on corporate time. I get a message on my phone. I get a text message. I can reply to it. Boom. I'm replying to it. If I see it and if I can do it, I will
Yeah.
do it. Big companies, really, if they want to brand heavily, they should study human behavior thoroughly and just do that. Be genuine, be authentic, and don't be idiots because you know
Yeah.
when you're
Well,
doing it.
right. Yeah. The proof of that is, I mean, again, a lot of great points there, but I think the proof of the very thing you're talking about can be seen on TikTok, right? Like when you look at TikTok and the creators
Yep.
on there, the ones that really thrive, the ones that really build a following in the community are the ones that are just like putting themselves out there as their true selves. It's unfiltered, it's unedited, like there's no aesthetic to it. They're
I
just
did.
pressing record and they're just talking to the camera, and those are the posts, the videos, the conversations that resonate
Yep.
and connect with people.
But that's what I was saying, not to cut you off, just to add
No,
to that
go.
point just for a second.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying about the streamers, right?
Mhm.
Kai Cenat blew up because he was in the hood in New York, living in a whatever apartment, and a mouse ran across the back of his room, and the internet went, "Oh my god!" But did he turn his camera off and get in his
Just
bed and
edit it
cry
out.
about it? And no, he leaned into it. He's like, "Yo, guys, that's where I'm at."
Right.
Now this guy's
Yeah.
multi-millionaire, right? When you're recording content, we're recording this. If I make a mistake, we can cut, we can edit it, whatever, this and that, right? You can make it sound, even in the podcast, you can make it sound cohesive. But if we're doing this live, You're seeing 24/7, 365, baby. This is what it is. You're seeing
Yeah.
behind the scenes, hard on the sleeve. And I think that there's something to be learned from that, is that why do people react so heavily to true authenticity and not faking it? Why is it even that, apart from, like, call it the Mr. Beast of the world, the creators that are having more success now are the ones who are wearing the dirty stain on t-shirt in their bedroom, not the ones who have put thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars into their production, right? And by the way, works out great for the creators because it's less barrier to entry, which is why there's this influx of content creators, because it's the barrier to entry is so low. Available. Anybody can pick up their phone. Everyone has something to say. It's just how much, what do you commit to and what's your niche and et cetera, whatever. Everyone does want to be a creator in their way, to your
Yeah.
point before. And it is really, that is why you see that on TikTok with the success of it. And that's why you see the success of streamers, is because that is the most raw that you can get. Here's my life. Let me record it live. Damn. Now you try to fabricate something there.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, I'm happy to share this, but I I feel like I am some sort of testament to the lesson that businesses need to learn when it comes to brand and influencer marketing. I only recently started, posting my own thought leadership on social media a few months ago. And again, like, I'm not trying to be an influencer, not that it's a bad thing, but that's not my intent for doing it. But coming from this world of marketing, coming from the C-suite and what traditionally has been understood about marketing, and it having to be poised and it having to be manufactured, that's the world that I lived in for the last 7-10 years. And so moving from that world to now being, in business for myself and launching this firm and trying to show my thought leadership and building my own personal brand, I'm having to unlearn that mentality of the poised and the manufactured brand, and really learning how the market responds to that. And it really comes from the shift of, again, traditionally we've been in this sales first economy where, as a business, my strategy is going to be primarily sales first. The goal is to capture customers.
Yeah.
But today in 2025, more than ever, it's not about that. It's about a brand first strategy. And instead of focusing on capturing customers, it's about creating community. For any business leaders who are listening, let that be a real world example of the truth and the shift that you have to make in terms of how you're looking at brand